Welcome to Strange Serenity, the podcast, where we take a deep dive into music that makes you think, feel, and question everything you thought you knew. I'm Adam.
And I'm Veronica.
And today we're strapping in for a journey into the world of Tool. Now, whether you're a diehard fan or just curious about what makes this band tick, get ready to have your mind blown wide open.
That's right. Tool is more than just a band. They're an experience, a sonic and philosophical puzzle box that's captivated listeners for decades.
Okay, so let's unpack what makes Tool so unique. One thing that immediately jumps out is their technical mastery. They're all incredible musicians in their own right, but when they come together, it's like alchemy.
It really is. Take Danny Carey, their drummer. He's not just keeping the beat, he's weaving these intricate polyrhythms that create this almost otherworldly soundscape.
Polyrhythms, for those of us who aren't drummers, break that down for us a little.
Sure, imagine hearing two different rhythms at the same time layered on top of each other. Like in the opening of Lateralis, you've got Carey playing a 54 rhythm on the drums, while the guitar and bass are in a more standard 44. It's like musical juggling, but on another level.
I'm starting to get a headache just trying to picture that. It's no wonder people call him a drumming god.
He's definitely in a league of his own, and Carey's mastery of unusual time signatures is another key element of Tool's sound. Think of it like this: most pop music has a predictable 4-beat rhythm, but Tool throws that out the window. Their music is constantly shifting and evolving, keeping you on the edge of your seat.
It's like they're defying the laws of musical gravity.
Exactly, and that unpredictable rhythmic foundation is what allows the rest of the band to shine. You've got Adam Jones on guitar creating these hypnotic layered riffs that feel almost textural.
I've always loved how his guitar playing isn't about shredding solos, but about creating these vast sonic landscapes.
And then you have Justin Chancellor on bass, who isn't just playing root notes, he's weaving in these melodic counterpoints that add a whole other dimension of complexity.
It's like they're building a sonic cathedral brick by intricate, rhythmically complex music. And at the top it all off, you have Maynard James Keenan's vocals. That voice, it can go from a whisper to a scream and everything in between.
His vocal range is phenomenal, and he uses it as an instrument in itself. It's not just about hitting your notes, it's about conveying the emotion, the raw power, the vulnerability.
You can feel the intensity in his voice, even when the lyrics are abstract or metaphorical. Which brings us to another key element of Tool: their lyrical depth. We're not talking about your typical love songs or party anthems here.
Definitely not. Tool's lyrics delve into some pretty profound territory: existentialism, spirituality, the nature of consciousness, even esoteric philosophy. They're not afraid to challenge you intellectually, to make you think about life's big questions.
Which is probably why listening to Tool can feel more like attending a philosophy lecture than just jamming out to some tunes. You almost need a notebook and a highlighter to keep up with all the layers of meaning.
And a good dictionary, but that's what makes them so fascinating. They're not spoon-feeding you easy answers. They're inviting you to grapple with these complex ideas alongside them.
One of the things I find most intriguing about Tool is their ability to weave these intellectual and philosophical concepts into their music without sacrificing an ounce of emotional impact. Take their album Lateralis. It's practically a concept album that explores themes of growth, evolution, and interconnectedness. And then there's that title track, Lateralis.
Yes, the Fibonacci song. It's a perfect example of how Tool can take a complex mathematical concept and turn it into a mind-blowing musical experience.
Okay, for those who need a refresher, the Fibonacci sequence is this mathematical pattern where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on. It shows up all over nature, from the arrangement of flower petals to the spiral of a nautilus shell.
Exactly, and Tool not only incorporates the sequence into the lyrics of Lateralis, but also uses it to structure the entire song. The time signatures, the arrangement of the verses, even the length of certain musical phrases, they're all based on the Fibonacci sequence.
So they literally mapped mathematics onto music. It's like they cracked some kind of secret code of the universe.
It's pretty incredible, and what's even more remarkable is that it doesn't feel forced or gimmicky. The music flows so naturally, you almost don't realize the mathematical precision behind it until you start digging deeper.
I guess that's the mark of a true artist, the ability to make the complex seem effortless. So we've got this amazing drummer, these phenomenal guitar and bass players, and a vocalist who can summon the gods with his voice. How do they come together to actually create the Tool sound? What's their creative process like?
Well, they're notorious for being meticulous and intentional in their approach. They're not a band that churns out albums every year. They take their time, spending years on each record, experimenting, refining, perfecting.
That's so rare in today's music industry, where everything is about instant gratification and churning out the next hit. It seems like they're more interested in creating art that will stand the test of time.
Absolutely. And they're not afraid to push the boundaries of what's considered normal in music. There are rumors that they even incorporate principles of sacred geometry into their rhythms.
Sacred geometry. Now, that's a rabbit hole I'd love to go down.
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
It's a fascinating concept, basically. It's the idea that certain geometric shapes and proportions hold spiritual significance and can be found throughout nature and the universe. Some believe they're the blueprints of creation itself.
Wow, so they're taking these ancient principles and applying them to music that's next level stuff. It's like they're trying to tap into some kind of universal harmony.
That's a great way to put it, and it speaks to their desire to create something that's more than just catchy or pleasing to the ear. They're striving for a deeper level of meaning and resonance, something that connects with the listener on a primal level.
I think that's a great place to wrap up. Part one of our Tool Deep Dive. We've explored their incredible technical skill, delved into the depths of their lyrics, and even touched upon their unique approach to creating music.
But we've only just scratched the surface. When we come back, we'll be dissecting some specific tracks that really exemplify what makes Tool so damn unique. So stick around. This is about to get really interesting,
Welcome back to Strange Serenity.
where we're diving deeper into the sonic labyrinth that is Tool.
That's right. In part one, we laid the groundwork, talking about their incredible musicianship, those mind-bending rhythms, and those lyrics that make you question everything.
But now it's time to get our hands dirty and dissect some specific tracks, because to truly understand Tool, you have to experience the music itself.
So, Veronica, where do we even begin? Tool's discography is so vast and complex, it's like choosing a single star in a galaxy.
Well, if you want to understand what makes Tool tick, we have to start with Lateralus, the title track from their 2001 masterpiece. It's the quintessential Tool experience.
Ah, yes, Lateralus, the Fibonacci song, the one that makes math geeks and music nerds alike lose their minds.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how Tool can take a complex concept and turn it into a visceral emotional journey. The song starts with this hypnotic, almost tribal drum beat. It's like a heartbeat pulling you in.
And then Jones's guitar comes in with this haunting, arpeggiated riff. It's like a spiral staircase winding its way up into your consciousness.
And that's where Keenan's vocals come in. He's singing about breaking free from limitations, expanding your consciousness, embracing the spiral of life. But it's not just the words, it's the way he delivers them with this raw vulnerability that cuts straight to the heart.
And the way the music builds and swells,
Yeah.
it mirrors that expansion. It's like you're actually experiencing that feeling of transcendence.
And then there's that middle section where the time signature changes and it's like everything shifts into a higher gear.
That's the part where my brain usually short circuits. It's like a sonic earthquake, but a beautiful one.
And it's in that section where Keenan really leans into the Fibonacci sequence. The number of syllables in each line, the length of the musical phrases, it all aligns with that mathematical pattern. It's like they've encoded the spiral of life into the very structure of the song.
You know, it's one thing to understand the concept intellectually, but to hear it play out musically is a whole other level. It makes you realize just how meticulously crafted this music is. There's not a single note out of place.
That's what I find so fascinating about Tool.
Yeah.
They're masters of blending intellectual complexity with emotional resonance. They're not just making you think, they're making you feel.
Okay, so Lateralus is definitely a masterpiece, a must-listen for any Tool newbie. But what about the folks who want to experience Tool at their most raw and visceral?
Well, for that, you have to go to Schism from the same album. It's a sonic punch to the gut.
Schism, oh man, that bass line, those dissonant chords. It's like a musical anxiety attack, but in the best way possible.
Exactly. It's intense, it's unsettling, but it's also incredibly cathartic. And lyrically, Schism is all about communication, or breakdown, the inability to connect with others.
Which, let's be honest, is something we can all relate to. Who hasn't felt that frustration of trying to bridge the gap between yourself and someone else, only to find yourself further apart?
Absolutely. We've all experienced those moments of disconnect where words fail us, and Schism captures that feeling perfectly. The music itself feels fractured, like it's about to break apart.
You know what's interesting about Schism? It's not just about the breakdown, it's also about the possibility of rebuilding, of finding a way to connect again. Notice how the music comes back together in the chorus, stronger than before.
That's a great observation. It's like Tool is reminding us that even in the midst of chaos and disconnect, there's always hope for reconciliation.
It's like a musical phoenix rising from the ashes. So we've got Lateralus for the mind-bending philosophical journey, and Schism for the raw emotional catharsis. Is there a middle ground, something that maybe won't give our listeners an existential crisis?
Well, if you want to experience Tool's more playful side, the pot from the album 10,000 Days is a must listen.
The Pot playful. I mean, I love the song, but I wouldn't exactly call it lighthearted.
Hear me out. While the pot definitely deals with some serious themes like hypocrisy and self-deception, it also has this incredible groove, this almost funky energy that's infectious.
You're right, that bass line is definitely irresistible. It's got a swagger that you don't always hear in Tool's music.
Exactly. And while the lyrics are still thought-provoking, there's a sardonic wit to them that's not always present in their other work. It's like they're calling out the BS, but they're not taking themselves too seriously.
It's a good reminder that even when they're dealing with heavy themes, Tool can still have a sense of humor about it, which makes them so much more relatable. Like they're not just these untouchable musical gods. They're human too.
And I think that's part of what makes the pot so appealing. It's a perfect blend of intellectual depth, musical mastery, and just plain fun.
So there you have it, folks. Three very different Tool tracks, each showcasing a different facet of their brilliance. But we've only just begun to explore the depths of their discography.
Tool is a band that rewards repeated listens. The more you dive in, the more you discover.
And that's what makes them such a rewarding listening experience.
We'll be back after a short break to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Tool with some final thoughts and takeaways. Stay tuned
Welcome back to Strange Serenity.
for the final leg of our journey into the heart of Tool.
We've dissected their music, analyzed their lyrics, and maybe even had a few existential crises along the way.
Hopefully the good kind of crisis, the kind that leads to growth and self-discovery.
Exactly. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to ask, what does it all mean? What makes Tool so much more than just another band?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it comes down to their ability to create art that transcends entertainment. Tool's music is an experience, a journey, a catalyst for introspection.
They're not afraid to challenge us, to make us uncomfortable, to force us to confront the shadows within ourselves and our society.
And they do it all with such incredible artistry, blending complex musical arrangements with thought-provoking lyrics and stunning visuals.
It's funny. When you listen to Tool, you almost feel like you're part of a secret society, like you've been given access to some hidden knowledge.
I know exactly what you mean. There's a sense of community among Tool fans, a shared understanding that this music is more than just noise. It's a way of life, a philosophy.
It's like they're giving you permission to be your most authentic, intellectually curious self in a world that often celebrates mediocrity and conformity. Tool is a beacon of individuality and depth.
They're a reminder that it's okay to be different, to think for yourself, to question everything. And they show us that music can be a powerful tool for transformation.
So if you're tired of the superficial, the mundane, the easy listening, I urge you to dive into the world of Tool. It might not always be a comfortable ride, but it will be a rewarding one.
And you might just discover something about yourself along the way.
That's all for our deep dive into the world of Tool. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have.
And as always, stay curious for me.